53% disapprove. Joel Rubin is the Director of Policy and Government Affairs with the Plowshares Fund. It focuses on nuclear proliferation. He is also a former State Department officer. Joel, it's always good to have you. Thanks for being with me.
Great to be with you, Craig.
Representative Ed Royce, chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, had this to say in his opening statement. Take a listen.
My concern is that we may have bargained away our fundamental position, which is enshrined in 6 UN Security Council resolutions. And that fundamental agreement is that Iran should not be enriching and reprocessing. And we may bargain that away for a false confidence.
Joel, have we bargained away our position?
Craig, this is a good deal for American security, and it's a first step deal. What it has done is essentially take the most dangerous elements of Iran's nuclear program off the table, the 20% enriched uranium, and injected strong, aggressive daily inspections into what Iran is doing. And that creates space for this comprehensive stage of negotiations that's about to take place. It's a good deal. It builds confidence between the parties, and these are very serious negotiations. It doesn't mean that this will succeed, but certainly in the interim deal, there is now a clarity that Iran wants to be negotiating a way out of these sanctions, and that there may be a path to resolve this diplomatically.
Most people, the chief criticism for most of the folks who are opposed to this deal seems to be that it allows Iran to continue to enrich uranium. What's your response to that?
Well, that is a misread of this. First of all, this is a first step deal. So what this means is that Iran is taking the most dangerous elements off the table. It also means that in this next phase, the comprehensive negotiations, the parameters of that final nuclear program that Iran will have will come into focus. Now, the right to enrich is clearly a big debate. Now, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty does not talk about having enrichment rights. Clearly, Iran wants that. They're going to have to find a way to get through this. But the alternatives, meaning that there's no diplomatic process, there's no deal, would imply that we would not have an Iranian nuclear program under any constraints. Right now, that's where we're heading, to ensure that there is a verifiable way to prevent Iran from having a bomb. Not having a deal means an Iranian program unchained, and that's not in our interest.
I want to play another clip of Kerry's testimony and get your response on the other side. This is what the Secretary had to say just a few moments ago.
It was undeniable that the pressure we put on Iran through these sanctions is exactly what has brought Iran to the table today. And I think Congress deserves an enormous amount of credit for that. But I don't think that any of us thought we were just imposing these sanctions for the sake of imposing them. We did it because we knew that it would hopefully help Iran dismantle its nuclear program.
Joel, there's another interesting aspect to this, I think, and that is this idea that you can have an administration go out and broker a deal with another country, and then on the back end have lawmakers essentially threaten to dismantle said deal. That would seem to set a very dangerous precedent.
It is very troubling to see Congress right now taking the position that it wants to be micromanaging the negotiations. We have a separation of powers. We have an executive branch and a legislative branch. And the Congress has imposed sanctions that the executive branch has used as leverage in these negotiations to extract tangible gains with the prospect of more tangible gains. That's the job of the executive branch, of the president, to execute. Right now, however, if Congress intervenes, adds new sanctions at this moment, it will undermine our ability, along with the partners at the table. We're talking about France, Germany, Russia, China, Britain. It will undermine ability to keep them together in this tough negotiation with Iran. We don't need to see a split government. We need to see a unified position right now.
In an interview with Time Magazine on December 7th, Iran's foreign minister warned that the deal would be dead if lawmakers passed more sanctions, saying in part, quote, "The entire deal is dead. We do not like to negotiate under duress, and if Congress adopts sanctions, it shows a lack of seriousness and a lack of desire to achieve a resolution on the part of the United States." Yet we have something that has become quite rare in our nation's capital. We've got this bipartisan group of senators now, Joel, who are appear to be close to finalizing some possible sanctions that could be attached as an amendment to the defense authorization bill. Is there a chance that we might see some sort of 11th hour compromise between the administration and this bipartisan group?
Well, I served in the Senate for several years, and the appetite in Congress is to do something, to show that it is really involved. And certainly there is a possibility that Congress will attach some language, but it has to be very careful here. The administration is very active right now with Congress in explaining this is a delicate moment. If the United States is seen as the recalcitrant party, as the party that violates what is written on paper in that 4-page agreement where it says no new sanctions, if the United States is seen as violating that part of the agreement and undermining these negotiations, it could unravel the broader sanctions that we have in place. We rely on international partners in good faith to implement sanctions. Yeah. If we aren't in good faith right now acting on behalf of this agreement, we could see that good faith disappear from our partners overseas.
Joel Rubin, we always appreciate your insight. Thank you.